After reading the description, I came up with the plan that we can see here on the right hand side. When I read it, I found it pretty straightforward what we needed to do. So here is my take on it. We need to declare a list containing names. After that, we need to store that list into a file using pickle, and when we have done that, we should load that list back from the file into another variable. So we store it in another variable just to make sure that we can load it back without any problems. And finally, we display the content of that variable where we store the list that we loaded from the file. So that is my take on what we need to do. Pretty straightforward, but how would it look in code? So I will create a script and I'll start declaring the main function. And with the main function created, let us start by declaring the list of names. And with the list created, it's time to store it into a file using pickle. And this is how we would do that. And we can see here what we did is we used the with open as construct here to make sure that the file is opened but also closed afterwards, and Python will automatically close it for us, so we don't have to think about that when we use this construct here. And we open it with a name, of course, but it is important to remember that we need to open it as a binary file. So we not only need to write to it, but we write binary. And then to actually write the list to the file, we use the dump function and supply what we want to dump to the file and the name of the file. So the next step is to load it back, and it is fairly similar to what we did here, but let me write the code for it. And we can see here that it looks similar. We use the same construct here for opening the file. Of course, we have to change it so that we are reading instead of writing like we did up here. And we have to load it back instead of dumping the information. But we can see that they look similar just for writing and reading. So it's easy to remember how to do it if you remember how it looks. The last thing we need to do is to print all the names that we read from the file. And I will do that using a for loop. So let us try to run it and see what happens. And we can see that we didn't get any errors. So it seems to be working as it should. We see that we get all the names printed. And if we look back at what we did here, there are a few things that is worth mentioning. And one of the things is, of course, how to pickle, like we did here, just to write to the file and to read from the file. But there is one more thing that is worth pointing out, and that is that we see that the red names, that is declared inside this with statement here. So we see here it is declared in here, but it is valid in this function. So if we declare it in here, it is valid in the whole function. It is the same if we declare it in an if statement or in a for loop, for example. But that is something worth pointing out, that all right, even if we declare it in a code block, it will be valid in the function. And with that, those two things, declaring it inside here and how to use pickle, I think we will leave this task, but remember it for the future.